Okay, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are, VTP Stage 2 Online Technical Tuesday Coaching Call 202 for the 28th of July 2026. Hope you're well. Hope you have had a good start to the week, and I hope you're ready for what is going to be a pretty full-on and interesting week ahead for traders, regardless of what you look to focus on with your own trading. As always, you are very welcome here. Just remember that you're always responsible for your own trading decisions. And if you want a little bit of help, okay, the Q3 VTP Trader Accountability Group is up and running, okay. It helps build discipline, accountability, and consistency. If you want to be around serious traders and help develop as a trader, you can join us for that. Okay, a little bit different, all right. So this is Kospi, all right. This is the Korean index. Why are we interested in this? Well, because well, you can see probably already for yourself. This is the weekly chart. It has been rather volatile recently, okay, and it is hitting the news an awful lot. If there's one of the things I've learned over years and decades, it is that very often what we see is that when markets are set to take a bit of a tumble, it very often doesn't start where people think it is. People are always, myself included, you're always looking at, where things could unravel, okay? But if there's one thing I've learned is very often, it happens, or it starts, or it builds momentum somewhere that, you might not necessarily have expected. And I'd say the Korean index is probably, a reflection of that at the moment, okay? So the Koreans there's two things here. The Koreans, they love the tech, all right, and they've gone mad for the tech. But equally, Koreans themselves have been basically, pounding in and out of retail, okay, in terms of retail trading, in terms of stocks trading, AI, tech, etc. And this is what we have seen. And kind of, you can see that the Korean Composite Index has been on an absolute tear until it wasn't, right? Those of you seen me plenty of times have said that, once you start seeing price going parabolic, once it starts to see, look at how it's pulled away from the 20, pulled away from the 50, pulled away from the 200. Once price goes parabolic like that, that is, when, start getting nervous. Okay. So, as I say all the time, if you're in that trade and it goes parabolic, tighten up. All right. It's time to start taking a bit off the table and tightening up. If you are on the sidelines, do not by any means start basically getting excited, all right, and start adding in, because the likelihood is you're probably going to buy it here. By the time you've seen it and recognize you're going to buy it here, you'll buy the top, and that is just, uneducated punter territory, okay? And if you've been working through the VTP, that's not what I expect from you, okay? So remember, do your analysis. But if we're running like this, trying to chase this is a fool's errand, all right? It rarely, if ever, ends well, all right? Rarely, if ever, ends well. So having said that, okay, let's have a little look. One of the other reasons I'm interested in is how we've seen price work on here recently. So let's go down to the daily chart. So, we can see, all right. So, above its averages, working nicely, bullish until it wasn't, okay. We pushed up to these here above 9,000, getting towards 10,000, all right. And then, you can see for yourself that, we've had these kind of day sell-offs here, one big sell-off there. And then, you can see for yourself, we've just literally the 50, it looked like it was going to bounce at the 50. That didn't hold. And then yesterday, we saw, listen, from where we closed, we gapped down and fell down. Okay. We're down, I think yesterday, look at that, down 10%, nearly just under 11% on one day. All right. From it. So down at 6,000. All right. Considering what here in, mid-June. So 5 weeks ago, we were at 9,300. What was the highs there? All right. 9,385, and now here we're at 6,000. Okay, I mean that's almost like a 50% drop off, isn't it? In sort of if not more. Okay, I'm just doing quick maths in my head here, but that's a massive drop off, isn't it, from those particular highs? So that's why we're watching it, all right? That's why we're watching it. As I said, this is the canary in the coal mine. Let's wait and see. But listen, if you've been shorting that for the last couple of weeks and stuff, off the back of frazzled Korean traders, well then fair play to you, all right? Fair play to you. That has been quite some move, all right. Let's see, let's see if the 200 can act as a support. Let's hope it put up more support than the 50 did there. Okay, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I added that in because it's kind of curious and it's interesting, and it's a thing you want to be having a little bit of a look at the moment.